it's Sam from Cultaholic Wrestling with a lovely slice of weekend news with who is this? Who are you? What's going on?
There's a new face. Hello everyone, I'm Mitch from Cultaholic.com.
Yes, what do you do, Mitch? Tell everybody at home what you do.
So my job is editor-in-chief of the website. I look after all the news that you see on your Cultaholic.com news feed. It's great to be here on a Saturday morning with you, Sam.
Yes, the circumstances in which this has happened, it's like one in a million. But essentially, everything's kind of wound up being triple booked, and people are away. And so, for the first time, Mitch is just jumping on into the news, and he'll be here with both. For both news videos. So I guess without any further ado, we should probably crack on with it and have a look at the headlines. Rumours of Backstage Indecency have surfaced. A big return and NXT call-up happened on last night's SmackDown. And WWE have been served with a patent infringement lawsuit. But what's it all about? Find out in a bit. So yeah, we start things off with some rather strange and unsettling news. Now, it's important to note that there's been no word of which promotion that this is linked to, no word on the parties involved, but an interesting tweet surfaced yesterday that gained quite a bit of traction in the wrestling community. Could you just tell us what those tweets were, Mitch?
Yes, so a Twitter account named Alan_Cheapshot took to Twitter yesterday and put, "Has the hidden camera phone filming talent in bathroom story got out yet? Or that talent who found the camera phone and less than savoury files stored on it?" This was obviously met with a huge immediate response on Twitter, and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful quote retweeted it and said, "It's gonna next week if I can get the person who caught it to go on record, pal." Obviously, at the moment, there's no indication of any of the alleged promotions or names involved, and it's a very serious story, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, as you've just said there's no further information, but it's ridiculously serious. For someone to be filming a person without the permission is one thing, but to be doing so in an intimate or a private setting, it's just monstrous behavior, really. It goes without saying that we hope the relevant law enforcement agencies were contacted about the incident, and whoever has been doing this has been brought to some form of justice. But it's just horrible on every level, isn't it? I guess we'll find out more as it breaks, but we'll try and keep you all informed at home. Now, moving over to WWE here, they had some male tryouts this week, and Fightful have ran down each of the hopeful talents, but among the names, because I think there were 21 or 22 names involved, among the names there's some pretty interesting individuals. So we've got a few here. We're going to bounce backwards and forwards, but I'll start with John Skyler, 33 years old, most recently working AEW Dark over the last year, I think about 14 times. He's been on WWE Raw, he's been on SmackDown, he's been on Main Event, he's been on NXT, he's been in Ring of Honor, he's been in TNA when it was total non-stop deletion. He's also been involved in and around EC3's Free the Narrative thing that's ongoing at the moment. Who you got, Mitch?
Next up is Jason Kade. He's 30 years old, and some fans will be familiar with him because he's often seen training with Natalya. You've seen him work in 205 Live, Ring of Honor, AEW Dark, a little bit on Monday Night Raw, MLW, Impact, and Evolve. Over to you, Sam.
On top of that, we've got Wheeler Yuta, who's 24 years old and one of the higher profile invitees. Ring of Honor TV, worked for Beyond, he's worked for MLW, he's appeared on most indies, like out there, the bigger ones like CZW, GCW, AIW, Shikara, Evolve, and AAW. Who you got, Mitch?
Alexander James, 29 I'm going to try that bit again. Alexander James, 29 years old. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. Definitely one of the more high-profile names at the tryouts. He's worked a lot with WXW and CZW as well. Back to you, Sam.
My final one is Will Allday, who's 32 years old. He's appeared for AEW Dark. He has worked numerous UWN and Championship from Wrestling Hollywood shows. Apparently won a match on WWE Raw against Kurt Hawkins by DQ in June 2018. And your final one, Mitch?
My final one, Ariel Levy. He's 36 years old, a Chilean wrestler who has appeared on a couple of episodes of AEW Dark back in December. A really comprehensive list there, Sam.
Yeah, there's a lot more. There are a lot more names, so do feel free to go looking. There's just, they're constantly having to, of course, ramp up bringing people in. It's always very hard to deal with, especially around the time of releases. Like, last year we had that huge spate of releases and then boom, new class. And then this year it seems very much similar. We've had a spate of releases, like a year to the day of that first set. And now we're kind of ramping back up with filing people toward the Performance Center. But just got to hope that people, who want to get there and get put into a position and get given a gimmick and, get what they want out of the deal. But I guess more on any of these as and when, they potentially sign with the company. Now, taking things over to SmackDown from last night, we've got a couple of things that occurred on the show, and one of them is the fourth and final vignette for Aleister Blackhead, and it ended with him saying that it's time to cull the herd. And then the show just cracked on as normal, started Aleister Black reading a scary book. But then we got to the main event, and it looked like Big E had Apollo Crews bang to rights in that four-way. It was Big E, Crews, Zayn, and Owens, and they were going for the IC title. Crews obviously managed to retain, but he did so with the help of somebody else, didn't he, Mitch?
He did, Sam. When Big E looked like he had Crews beaten, he was pulled from the ring, got back in the ring, and then the Thunderdome started filling up with smoke, and it all got a little bit mysterious. And the guys on commentary were a little bit like, "What's going on here?" And through the smoke came Aleister Black, and he stormed into the ring. They had a stare down. Crews grabbed hold onto Big E's legs, which distracted him. A massive black mass and. Game over. It was pretty spectacular.
I mean, the biggest surprise here for me was that all those recent rumors that he was maybe heading to Raw, and it just kind of made sense because it was like always, the big rumor was, he's in line for a huge push. And then it was like, well, if it's a huge push, it can't really be SmackDown. But then, it makes sense for him to come in and go straight after the IC. I think it does work. And I do think that, this spot here coming in and laying out Big E, that certainly indicates that the company is really moving forward with Aleister Black here.
I thought he looked great. I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. He looked in great shape. He's doing he's got the one contact lens thing going on, which just always makes me feel a little bit uneasy. So I'm all for this. Welcome Black. I'm going with that. Welcome Black.
But just keeping it with last night's SmackDown, an NXT star has made the jump all the way from down there on the yellow brand all the way up to the big blue brand. Who was it, Mitch?
Welcome to SmackDown, Rick Boogs. The former Eric Bergenhagen has arrived on Friday nights. He seems to be aligning himself with Shinsuke Nakamura, at least for the moment. He rocked up when King Corbin was doing a promo in the ring, berating Shinsuke for stealing his crown. And he played Shinsuke to the ring. A fantastic, I can't speak this morning, fantastic guitar solo, which had Pat McAfee on commentary loving life because he was jumping all over Michael Cole. And then he helped Shinsuke to beat Corbin as well, which was what we love to see.
Beautiful. I think, it can only be a positive thing. Bugenhagen back in NXT, everything, like the first time I saw him, I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's made of charisma. This is, you can put him in any spot, and I think as long as there's a camera in front of him, he's going to bleed every single last bit of opportunity from it. And I think he did really well here. And it was a nice refresher. It kind of summed him up quite perfectly as a character, I feel, the whole positioning here. So it worked as a nice kind of palate cleanser for, anybody who maybe doesn't know who he is or maybe forgot and didn't know what was going on with him.
Absolutely. For me personally, he's not someone I'm that familiar with. So when he came onto the screen when I was watching SmackDown this morning, I was very taken. Like, who is this? Who's this person? As you say, dripping with charisma. He looks like a superstar. I think he's got a big future on the blue brand.
Absolutely. And finally, we mentioned it in the intro, but WWE have been hit with a patent infringement lawsuit. Now, this comes from Heel by Nature, and they're saying that WWE have been served with a lawsuit by Saito Mobile Limited. I hope I'm pronouncing... One of those has got to be correct. It's S-I-T-O, all capital letters, unless it's supposed to be Saito, like that. But... The lawsuit claims that WWE have infringed upon multiple patents for streaming technology, and it was filed yesterday. Now, there is a lot of technical talk. There is a lot of, breaking down types of containers and all of this stuff. But just kind of taking a look at it and applying my little bit of knowledge about this sort of stuff to it, it appears that Saito are taking issue particularly with how WWE's streaming platform serves its content to the viewer. So the company uses a specific container, like just a package that goes around the file, which allows them to utilize adaptive bit rates. And that just means, the bit rate of a video is the quality, basically. And an adaptive bit rate means that if you're streaming something but your internet's a bit poo, then, it's okay. It can still kind of get you a fairly all right quality video. And the way it does that is it breaks, a pay-per-view or an episode of Raw up into thousands of tiny little clips, and it just keeps checking. Like, it just keeps checking what the connection's like, and it moves from there. And then it stitches them together in the best possible quality for you. But yeah, I don't know what you make of this, Mitch.
I think it's an interesting situation, Sam, and as you rightly say, I'm not someone that particularly knows too much about this world, but it certainly seems like Saito feel like they've got a valid case here. I'm guessing the reason behind it is they feel like the technology WWE have used is either a direct replica of something they used or created, or it's at the very least it infringes on the rights to something they've built. I mean, they've taken Hulu to court before, and Flow Sport as well. So it'll be an interesting situation. But we know WWE have also faced lawsuits like this in the past, and they tend to, from what I understand, they tend to just settle rather than letting it go the whole way.
If there's a ground for it, because this is very much the bones. This is how the network serves its content to you. That is it. No matter what the content is, it's how it gets it to you in the best possible way it can. If there is, if it's found to be that way, and it's found to be that, yes, this is, they're going to rule in Saito's favor, I'd imagine WWE will just happily settle, because at that point you're going to end up having to restructure the entire network, the way it's delivered, the way it's shown to you. But I guess only time's going to tell. But that is it for your first dose of lovely Saturday news with me and Big Mitch. Yeah! You got anything you'd like to plug on the site, though, Mitch, while you're here? Because it's rare. Like, this is your first on-camera appearance since you started. So if there's something about the site you want to push, go for it.
It's a real pleasure to be here. I want to say thanks to you first, Sam, because I know earlier this week you had the unenviable task of editing a couple of my very poorly shot interviews with NXT UK talent.
Don't worry about it.
I know the audio on them was interesting to say the least, but if you do want to check any of those out, they are available exclusively at cultaholic.com. We did a piece with Kaylee Ray and Rampage Brown. A brilliant interview with Moustache Mountain as well is also up, so please go and check them out.
Awesome.